Today on Hearts of Heroes.
It's fully engulfed, fully engulfed!
A police officer plunges into a raging fire without protective gear, determined to save an elderly couple trapped inside.
It was just instinct. Fire, go, save the occupants.
He's yelling on the radio. It's fully engulfed. Heavy smoke condition. I can't see inside.
Sir, where are you at? I can't see anything.
It was a scary situation.
Plus, a toddler is wedged in a narrow drainage pipe.
All I saw was just a flash of yellow from his clothes, shooting right down.
Every second counted because we don't know what kind of injuries he sustained.
He was just screaming, the whole time just screaming and crying.
It really seemed like he thought he was never going to get to see his little brother again.
With lives hanging in the balance, these heroes jump into action knowing every second counts.
We often see police officers as the guardians of our streets, but their true impact goes well beyond that. These brave men and women often step into many different roles with dedication and heart.
When a house fire put the lives of 2 trapped residents at risk, one police officer didn't hesitate to leap into the danger zone, determined to bring them to safety.
Evesham, New Jersey is an historic little township, originally settled by the Quakers in the late 1600s.
Evesham's a 50,000 population small town. It's a suburban community to the city of Philadelphia.
Here in Evesham, police and fire unite with a shared mission to safeguard their community with unwavering dedication.
We care about the township more than I could even begin to explain to you right now. You can just tell every single day with the interactions we have with the community, the interactions we have with ourselves.
We have a great relationship with the police department. Our command staff and their command staff, we talk regularly. We do a lot of things collaboratively.
While police officers are not generally trained in fire rescue, they are often the first to arrive to fires.
Our units are not mobile in the field. We are static in the firehouses waiting for the call to be dispatched. They're on patrol.
This was the case in June of 2024 when a 911 call came in for an apartment fire. Police officer Kevin Long was on patrol just a stone's throw away.
The dispatch call says that there's a fire alarm going off in this residence. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go check it out.
Officer Long was literally right around the corner. He was in the right place to get there quickly.
While driving to the apartment complex, he learned that the situation was dire.
The dispatcher came back on the radio saying that there's one entrapped.
Inside the apartment was an elderly woman and her wheelchair-bound husband.
When I pull up, there's smoke coming out of every window and the front door of the residence.
I got smoking conditions, smoking conditions.
Officer Long radioed for backup.
We have a fire showing through a vent in the building to the south.
He reported a heavy smoke condition. The report was the male occupant in the residence was unable to get out. Automatically, you're 10 out of 10 on the heightened awareness scale.
With firefighters still en route, Officer Long knew he had to do something quick.
Without giving it a second thought, he rushed inside.
Hey, you all right? You all right? It's fully engulfed, fully engulfed.
The frantic woman told Officer Long that her husband couldn't get out without his wheelchair.
She's telling me that her husband's still in there. I couldn't see the husband, and the house was pretty smoky with black smoke everywhere.
All right, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out.
I get her out, I grab her, pull her out, get her out of the residence.
I can't see anything.
Coming up, Officer Long only has seconds to try to get the man out of a raging inferno.
He's entrapped. I can't get in there. The smoke's too bad.
But first, a tip to keep you and your loved ones safe should a fire break out near you.
Each year, there are over 350,000 house fires in America. There is one essential item to keep on hand to help swiftly extinguish flames before they escalate.
Fire blankets like these are easy to store and can put out small fires quickly. These blankets work by creating a barrier between the flames and their oxygen source, effectively smothering the fire before it has a chance to spread. But if the fire grows too large, too fast, exit immediately and call 911. Don't try to be a hero.
Remember, keeping fire prevention tools easily accessible can make the difference between a close call and a catastrophe.
In June of 2024, Officer Kevin Long responded to an apartment fire. Inside the residence was an elderly woman and her husband, who was trapped in a chair, unable to get up due to his immobility.
It's fully engulfed, fully engulfed!
With no protective gear, Officer Long made his way into the burning home.
It's terrifying. I could feel how hot it was in the residence. The smoke, the thickness of the smoke, that was also terrifying. It was hard to breathe in there, hard to see in there. It was a scary situation.
After getting the man's wife out safely, Officer Long tried to make his way deeper into the inferno.
He's trapped. I can't get in there. The smoke's too bad.
He's just yelling, help me, help me. I can't move, help me. I gotta get him out. That was my priority.
Where you at?
Suddenly, Officer Long realized that the woman he had saved was back inside the house trying to help.
I see wife right there with the electronic wheelchair.
Right here, I can't walk. Get out, come on, move. Go.
I got her out, now she's coming back in.
Move, get out, come on.
I understand that's her husband, but I'm more mobile. I'm gonna get things done.
Go.
I gotta get his wheelchair. It's a huge electronic wheelchair, the ones that weigh like 600 pounds.
The wheelchair was now blocking his only exit. Officer Long had to get it out of his path.
Move, get out of my way. Get out of the way, get out of the way.
I get the wheelchair out of my way, then I went to go get him.
By this time, Officer Nicholas Oliver pulled up to the scene.
I can see the heavy black smoke through the roof, so then at that point, put my car in park, I get out and I sprint as fast as I can. And there was smoke just pouring out of the windows. I see the female standing by the doorway. I saw Kevin Long pull out the chair. That's when he then sprinted back in.
He was left in the hallway because I had to get all these obstacles out of the way.
Where you at, sir?
I went into the doorway. Kevin Long was dragging out the mail. Officer Long did look like he was in distress. His eyes were red, very sweaty, and this lacked soot from the smoke all over his face.
When I saw Officer Oliver show up, it was a great relief knowing that there was somebody else here to help me out because I needed it at that point.
Once he brought the mail out, he just collapsed to the ground.
The smoke inhalation was too much.
With Officer Long struggling to breathe, Officer Oliver took over.
I'm pulling the mail and dragging him basically away from the house to a nearby tree. My worry, okay, there's a possibility that this complex can blow up.
With the threat of fire and a potential explosion looming, Officers Oliver and Long began evacuating the adjoining apartments.
You gotta get out. You gotta get out. There's a fire.
Moments later, the Evesham Fire Department arrived.
When we pulled up, we saw that our 2 EMS units were tending to some of the patients. Therefore, at that point, we can go into suppression mode.
I knew I was good when I saw the fire lieutenant hop the parking bumper right there, and I was like, okay, here's John Wayne to save the day, because my time was done. I knew the fire department was going to take care of what needed to be taken care of.
The Evesham Fire Department was able to suppress the fire before it spread, but there was considerable damage to the unit. Our sponsor, Belfour Property Restoration, was brought in to address the repairs.
First and foremost, we try to make sure that we secure their contents and get them out of there, and then we will gut the property, clean that up, whatever needs to be removed, sheetrock, etc., and then build it back with newer, improved items. Better than what it was because they've been in the most traumatic situation in their life.
Soon after the event, Officer Long was recognized for his bravery and service.
I come back on that roll call. All the lieutenants and the command staff come in.
He received a commendation for his heroic actions from the police chief, the fire chief, all the administrators were in there.
He single-handedly saved that man's life. He did. I believe that if he didn't do what he did, the outcome would have been completely different. Completely different.
In 12 years of law enforcement experience, I don't know if I've ever seen such a selfless act from an officer to do what Officer Long did. When your actions directly impact someone's life and they're still here to talk about it because of something you did, I don't think there's any greater satisfaction.
Everything went right. Nothing went wrong that day. We were very lucky and fortunate. Nobody got hurt. Both people were okay. So that was the biggest reward for me.
Coming up, a toddler plummets down a narrow drainage duct.
All I saw was just a flash of yellow from his clothes and just shooting right down.
First thing I heard was my wife scream.
I know as a parent, I'm always scanning for potential dangers to my children. As adults, it's natural survival behavior.
But when children find themselves in life-threatening situations, we must rely on heroic first responders to rescue their precious lives.
Right in the heart of Kansas sits the rural community of Mound Ridge.
It's a small town in Midwest America. I mean, pretty much a farming, agricultural community, about 2,000 residents. Typical small town where everyone knows everyone for the most part.
Things move at a more leisurely pace in Mound Ridge, even for the police force.
We deal with a lot of small town stuff. Dogs running around, finding dogs and taking them home is actually a big part of what we do. Your standard police work, just on a slower scale.
It's a wonderful community, that's for sure. And we didn't know the strength of our community until recently.
Blake Zortman and his wife Elizabeth moved to Mound Ridge in 2017 to start a family.
We have a small family of 5, 2 under 2 as of right now, and then a 7-year-old. So we are on our toes at all times trying to keep the household under some form of control. So Bentley is our 16-month-old little man. He is very rambunctious and curious about everything in life. He is constantly finding different ways to get into things he's not supposed to.
Keeping a curious toddler out of trouble is a daily challenge for any parent. But in July 2024, little Bentley found himself in a shocking predicament that no one saw coming.
Blake and my oldest were gonna work on the car together while Bentley and I kind of walked around the yard with the baby. We were exploring the yard that he hasn't seen yet, just up and down, anywhere we can go, and kind of redirecting him. And I wasn't really aware of much of that pipe.
That pipe was a covered irrigation duct next to their home.
As soon as he stepped on it, put both his feet on, just flew right down.
The lid has teeth on the inside of it that engage the inside of the PVC pipe. Apparently those teeth were off-center just enough to the point where the lid was capable of flipping, and it turned into a booby trap.
All I saw was a flash of yellow because he just flew down so quick.
First thing I heard was my wife scream. This is not the scream that you want to hear because it's something detrimental has happened.
What?
It seemed surreal to me because instinctually you know that something is wrong. She said that he fell down the hole. Every second counted because we don't know what kind of injuries he sustained.
I did not know what was down there. It could have been full of water, and it was a very long fall for a teeny tiny little baby.
We don't know if he was in any serious pain or bleeding or oxygen.
With their little baby trapped 10 feet underground, the outcome seemed hopeless.
Blake immediately called 911.
911? We have a child that's fallen into a crevice, and we're going to probably need the fire department with a rope or something to pull him out. The baby fell into the crevice. It's about 10 feet deep or so.
He was just screaming, was the whole time just screaming and crying, and we can't help him.
Coming up.
You could hear the child crying down in the hole.
We can't send someone down. The hole's too narrow. How are we going to solve this problem?
But first, a safety tip, should you ever need to report a dangerous situation.
Emergencies can be stressful, but staying calm and knowing what to say to a 911 operator can make all the difference. Keeping your cool and providing clear information might just save your life and the lives of those you love.
Be prepared to relay these key pieces of information when you call 911. First, what is the nature of your emergency? Second, where are you located? And if you don't have an exact location, describe a landmark. And finally, let us know if anyone is injured, and if so, describe their condition.
Remember, information matters. Staying calm truly can make all the difference.
Elizabeth Zortman watched in horror as her 14-month-old son Bentley plunged into an irrigation pipe in their front yard.
He was wearing a little yellow outfit, All I saw was a flash of yellow because he just flew down so quick. It was just, how are we gonna get him out? And
as soon as I knew he was in the hole, we were on the phone with 911. We did not dare attempt to pull him out ourselves because it could have gotten so much worse.
Officer Ronnie Wagner had only been with the Mounds Ridge Police Department for 2 months when he responded to the call.
Nice little kid.
Okay.
He's probably 8 feet down. 8 or 10, somewhere. Yeah.
Is he heads up?
He's okay. He was standing up. He's head up.
You could hear the child crying down in the hole. Hey, buddy. Okay. And looked down in the hole and saw the kid down there.
It's a scary deal as a parent knowing that you can't help your child.
We're gonna get you out, Bentley. It's okay.
Honestly, really broke my heart was the way that his big brother cried out for him, and it really seemed like he thought he was never going to get to see his little brother again. So that was tough.
Minutes later, more first responders began to arrive.
You immediately start working the problem. How deep is the hole? How do we gain access? What resources do we have on scene? What resources do we need to bring to the scene?
He's like 15 feet down.
The PVC pipe itself was just so narrow. Literally, it was just big enough for the child to go down.
So we started weighing options and going through different ideas.
Hey, Bentley. Hey.
We can't send someone down. The hole's too narrow. It would have to be another child, and we don't want to get another child stuck down there. How are we going to solve this problem?
We had some rope on scene from the fire rescue truck, and we started trying to use that to get it around the kid.
We fished a rope around his upper body. We were able to get it under his right arm.
But he took it off because he didn't know what was going on. He was panicking.
So now it's on to plan B. So happened that one of my full-time employees lived right behind the residence. He happened to have some PVC pipe in his garage. So the next plan was to stick that L-shaped leg between his legs.
Get that cut, get it under what?
And see if we couldn't just lift him out that way.
First, they needed to cut off a section to fit down the hole.
Bentley boy, roll up right here.
We got about 6 inches and then the leg gave way. Close, but not close enough. So then it was, how do we combine these two ideas together to have a successful outcome?
Having few options to rescue the child, Officer Wagner came up with an innovative plan.
If you use that pole on one side to stretch out a loop on the rope, you want a catch pole, basically?
He suggested they use what is known as a catch pole.
A catch pole is a steel bar. It's got a cable that runs through it. At one end, there's a loop that's secured to that end, and the other end is a tail. And when you pull the tail, it tightens the cable so that you could keep distance and safely get it into a vehicle to transport it.
They didn't have a catch pole on the ready, so they made one out of a few simple items that they had on hand.
I ran the rope through the pole, tied the knot at the end, and then I handed it off. Get that around his shoulders or something. Take as much slack as you need.
It was just a little bit to fish that around him so we could get it up under his arms.
Do you need the other side of it supported? There was not a lot of space around the hole.
We'll need something else to try to help maneuver that rope.
Maybe use the handle end.
Once we were able to pull that end tight.
There we go.
Slow, steady lift to get him to the surface.
We got an arm, we got an arm.
All right, Jeremy.
Slack.
Loosen it up here.
They rushed the toddler to a waiting ambulance to be checked out. Incredibly, he only suffered minor scrapes and bruises.
it made me realize things can happen so quickly that we got the best outcome we possibly ever could have.
He was stomping around, being a little goober within 5 minutes after he got pulled out of there.
Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. It's kind of a scary deal. Yes, sir.
They deserve a whole lot more than a handshake. In all honesty, the people that need the recognition are the emergency crews that showed up and everybody else that was there to help us get our man out.
For his quick thinking and creative problem solving, Officer Wagner was given a commendation from the city.
Officer Wagner had only been with us less than a month. I couldn't be prouder to have someone like that working for us.
This is definitely an amazing example for the children to understand how the first responders, the police, the fire department, they are all here to help us and to protect and to serve. And when you need help, we know who to go to. That's for sure.
There's a remarkable strength in the human spirit, an unbreakable resolve to endure and overcome nearly any challenge.
When confronted with seemingly insurmountable challenges, it's reassuring to know that we stand shoulder to shoulder with our brave first responders. We really appreciate you joining us today.
And we look forward to seeing you next time on Hearts of Heroes.